So Sri Harinama Prakaranam, we recite the sutras. Krishnam upasitumasya srajmev nama valim tanvai tvaritam vitre desha tat sahityadi jamodam ahata jalpita jatitam drishtva shabdanusasana stomam harinama वलिवलितं व्याकरणं वैष्णवार्थमाचिन्मः व्याकरणे मरुनिवृत्ति जीवन लुब्धः सदाग संविघ्नः हरिनामामृतमेतत् पिबन्तु शतधावगाहन्ताम् सांकेत्यं परिहास्यं वा स्तोभं हेलनमेव वा वैकुण्ठनाम ग्रहण मशेषाघहरं विदुः संज्ञा प्रकरणं नारायणादुद्भूतोऽयं वर्णक्रमः तत्रादौ चतुर्दश सर्वेश्वरः दशावतारः तेषां द्वौ द्वावेकात्मकौ पूर्वो वामनः परस्त्रिविक्रमः त्रिमात्रो महापुरुषः वर्जितः सर्वेश्वर ईश्वरः दशावतारा ईशः आ इ उ अनन्तः इ उ चतुस्सना उ ऋ चतुर्भुजः ए ऐ ओ औ चतुर्व्यूहः अमिति विष्णु चक्रम अंगिति विष्णु चापः इति विष्णु सर्गः कादयो विष्णु जनाः ये वर्जितास्तु बलाः ते मान्तः पंच विष्णु वर्गः ये वर्जितास्तु विष्णुगणः काचाटाताप हरिकमलानि खाचाठाथाफ हरिखड्गः गाजाडादाबा हरिगदः घाझाढाधाभा हरिघोषः नायाणानाम हरिवेणवः तये तद्वर्जिता विष्णुदासः यारालाव हरिमित्राणि शाशासः हरिगोत्राणि शाशासः हरिसौरयः विष्णुदास हरिगोत्राणि वैष्णवः हरिगदा हरिघोष हरिवेणु हरिमित्राणि हश्च गोपालः यादवान्ये शौरी वर्जितास्तु सात्वतः स्पर्शी प्रयत्नः सर्वेश्वराणां स्पर्शी विष्णुवर्गाणां ईषत् स्पर्शी हरिमित्राणां राधनुस्वराच्च परं यवाभ्यां तु पूर्वं विनाय रामस्य पुनर्विष्णुपदादावीशत् स्पर्शितरः उपेन्द्रात् क्वचिद् विष्णुपदादौ च वर्णस्वरूपे रामः तदादिद्वये द्वयम् आदेशो विरिञ्चिः आगमो विष्णुः लोपो हरः सूत्राणि षड्विधानि असिद्ध रूपं न त्याज्यं प्रतिज्ञेयं कृदन्तिका Okay, so we are at 34? 35. So he described the prayatna or the effort which is involved in pronouncing, which is important to understand. So basically there are 4 types of efforts, internal ones. There are 2 types, external, internal. So he is speaking more about the internal one here, which are, he mentions 3, but actually there are 4. So sparshi, asparshi, ishat sparshi, and there is also ishat sparshi actually has got 2 divisions, vivrita and samvrita. Means little constructed throat is samvrita and open throat is vivrita. So sometimes you can have them 3 or 4 if you make these 2 divisions separately. So now about yarama, this ya sound, it is pronounced in 2 ways. So here it says that ishata sparshi harimitranam. So harimitras are yara lava, these 4, right? Vishnu janas or consonants are called harimitram, harimitrani. So among them, ya has got 2 ways to pronounce. Sometimes it is pronounced as ishata sparshi, means a small contact, and sometimes ishata sparsitara, even smaller than that small. So that's what he is making the rule here, and you will see that, you will feel that difference when he gives the example. So he says rad anuswaracha param Yavabhyam tu purvam bina. This sutra is a little bit tricky, very complicated to understand the way it is composed. Yaramasya punar avishnu pada ishat sparshitara. So you first take this last part. Yaramasya ishat sparshitara. This is the main sentence. That yarama is ishat sparshitara, and then he gives exceptions which seem to be more than the normal. That except in these places it is not ishat sparsitara but ishat sparsi. So that means it is ishat sparsi if it is coming after ra and anuswar. Rat, anuswarat, cha param. Param means after. So if it is coming after ra or after anuswara, then it is ishat sparshi. Okay? Then yavabhyam tu purvam. Or if it is coming before ya, means ya is being followed by another ya, so the first ya will be ishat sparshi. Or if it is coming before va. And purar avishnupadam. Or if it is coming at the beginning of a word, then it will be ishat sparsi. So that means in these places it will be ishat sparsi, and everywhere else it will be ishat sparshi tara. Okay? So 2 ways you can say that. You can say that ya is ishat sparshi tara, except when it is coming after ra or anuswar, or being followed by ya or va, or at the beginning or not at the beginning of a word. Then it is ishat sparshitara. Or you can see it other way around, that it is ishat sparsi when it is coming after Ra or Anuswar, coming before Yava, and at the beginning of a word, then everywhere else. Ishat Sparshita, two ways you can see. Examples will come in the next, then it will become clear. Upendrat Kochit Vishnu Padadauj. Sometimes at the beginning of a Vishnu Pada also it can be Ishat Sparshi if before that there is an Upendra. Upendra is prefix, and prefix is considered as a word in itself. And then if it is Ya is there, like Priyunkte, he will give an example. Then sometimes it can also be Ishat Sparshi Tara there. Although in the previous sutra he said that it will be Ishat Sparshi Tara if it is not at the beginning of a word. But here he says at the beginning of a word also it can be Ishat Sparshi Tara sometimes. So Upendra Sanjya, Vishnupad Sanjya cha Vakshete. So these names Upendra and Vishnupada which he has used in this sutra, they will come later on in Akhyat Prakarana. So they are not here, but Vishnupada is a word, Upendra is a prefix. Just remember that. So Trivikrama Mahapurusha Harigotranam Vivritascha game. Now he says here that Trivikrama and Mahapurusha means long vowel and longer than long, the Pluta one. And Harigotra are Sha, Sha, Sa, Ha, Harigotra, and these four. So these are called Vivrita sounds. Okay? And the small ones are called Samvrita or E, they come in Samvrita. But he doesn't say that. Tatra ratiti kramena darshate. So now he is giving the example of the previous sutra, one by one. So now you see ratiti kramena darshate. We show in order. So in the sutra it says Rat Anuswaracha Param, after Ra. So here is an example, Ariyama. So it is coming after Ra. So if it is because it is coming after Ra, it will be Ishat Sparsi. Because it says without that it will be Ishat Sparsitar. Then Anuswara, Yam Yamyate. So it is also Ishat Sparsi. Then Ya Purvam, Ayyate. So there is a Ya followed by another Ya. So Ayyate. So the first is Ishat Sparshi. The second one is Isat Sparshi Tara. He is not saying it, but understand that. You can actually feel it when you say Ayyate. Then Vayavagni. It is Ya coming before Va, so it is Ishat Sparshi Vayavagni. Now comes the example of Ishat Sparshi Tara, Narayanaya. Can you feel the difference when you say Ariyama and you say Narayanaya? Do you feel the difference of Ya? You can feel? Should be able to feel it. When you say Ariyama, Ya is more pronounced. When you say Narayanaya, it is very little pronunciation. Narayanaya. Narayanaya. So it's more like E sound, Narayana. Similarly, Niyam. So it is less. Then is a Prayunkte. This is an example where Ya is coming at the beginning of a Vishnu Pada. Yunkte is one word, Pra is another one, are coming after Upendra. So here it is more heard, Prayunkte. There is a difference between Ya in Prayunkte and Narayana. So therefore it says Atra Panchama Shashthe Eva Udaharane. He says here only 5th and 6th are the examples. Examples of what? Examples of Ishata Sparshitara. And the others are only Pratyudaharana. They are counter examples. Means there it is Ishata Sparshi. Only in this one it is Ishata Sparshi Tara. Okay? So, any questions on this?
Just to summarize, I can't form a proper question. I couldn't quite follow the whole exchange here. Which are the ones that are Ishat Sparshi Tara?
Ishat Sparshi Tara is if it is not coming after Ra, not coming after Anuswara, not coming before Ya or Va, okay? Or if it is not at the beginning of a word. So if it is not in these, if it is not any of these conditions, then it is Ishat Sparsitara. Otherwise, Ishat Sparshi. I told you that this sutra is a little bit.
He's not put it in this one. It's not in Matsya Prabhu.
He's removed.
Deleted 3 of them.
Yeah.
Top ones.
So just remember that either you can say in this way that Yaram is Ishat Sparsitara always, except when it comes after Yarama, Anuswara, or before Yarama, or Va, or at the beginning of a word. In those places it will not be Ishat Sparshitara, then what will be? It will be Ishat Sparshi, because that's what it is. We studied that Hari-Mitranam, Ishat Sparshi Hari-Mitranam. But then he brings an exception to exception. So this is what you will see in grammar, that there is a general principle and then there is an exception to that, and then there is an exception to that also. So now the normal thing was that Hari-Mitranam Ishat Sparsi, right? So Hari-Mitra is Yara Lava. So Ya is Ishat Sparsi. Then he brings exception to that it is Ishat Sparsi Tara if it is not in these situations after Ra, Anuswar, before Yava at the beginning. And then he brings another exception to that. Means at the beginning of a Vishnu Pada, it should be Ishat Sparshi. But now he says that sometimes it can be Ishat Sparshi Tara if it is following an Upendra, like Prayunkte. So this is an exception to an exception.
Okay, so can I just try to reiterate this to see if I understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing is that Ya is a Hari-Mitrani, therefore it's Ishat Sparshi.
Right.
Then he says it's actually always Ishat Sparshi Tara, except in the cases listed in here, Sutra 35.
Right.
But then he says that in the case of it following an Upendra or being at the beginning of a Vishnu Pada, then it is
Ishat Sparshi Tara. It should have been Ishat Sparshi, but it is Ishat Sparshi Tara.
Babaji, what is an Upendra?
Upendra is prefix. Okay, anyway, let me tell you that when we are studying, I will tell you that some of the sutras are not very important. Or if you have this Madhyama book, those are the real ones which will be used most of the time. But I am going to go through the whole book so that at least you have the idea of the Brihat. But what is most practical is what Matsya Avatar has collected in this Madhyama. There is no such thing as Madhyama. There is Brihat Harinama Vritti Vyakarana and there is a Laghu Harinama Vritti Vyakarana. This Madhyama is created by him. I was also trying to create. The reason is that I taught Laghu also once. And when I started teaching Laghu, I didn't study Laghu, I only studied Brihat. But then Brihat is too much. So I started teaching this to the Gurukula students, the Laghu one. But when I was teaching Laghu, I realized that Laghu is actually incomplete. It needs more sutras to really explain. So then I stopped. So that's what they have done. So this Madhyama actually should be called Laghu. And Laghu should be scrapped. Because Laghu is not practical. So, just like in Siddhant Kaumudi, they have Siddhant Kaumudi, and then they have Laghu Siddhant Kaumudi. Of course, they also have Madhyam Siddhant Kaumudi, but nobody really studies Madhyama one. They study Laghu and then they study the complete one. So here this Madhyama school is quite good. So I will teach you that there are many sutras which are rarely used. Because sometimes you will see 4 or 5 sutras just for one word, which is hardly used. But because he is making a grammar, and this is the meaning of Vyakaranam, that it tells you Vivichyante sadhu sabdebhya, which makes you distinct what is the right word and wrong word. So they have to do it, whatever the words, possible words in Sanskrit language. There you have to prove it from sutra. Otherwise not acceptable.
My question is here about these examples. So he gives niyama and prayunkte. So ni and pra are both upendras. And therefore I thought that niyama and prayunkte would be the same example, the same principle that...
No, but if you pronounce niyama and prayunkta, you see the difference. In niyama it is ishat sparshitara and prayunkta it is ishat sparshi.
According to the rule he's making, shouldn't they be treated the same? Because in both it is the same case that the year is at the beginning of Vishnupada and has an...
Yeah, but he said Kvachit. He made a sutra for this. Upendrat Kvachit Vishnupadadavcha ishat sparshitara. Otherwise, why is he making the sutra?
I see. So with this he's explaining the Kvachit actually, that sometimes it's like niyama, sometimes like prayunkta.
So you see how much minutely you have to make sutra. Really, who is bothered about this niyama and prayunkta, Then there is a difference. But you see, this is the meaning of Samskrita. That you have to be just very precise. This is the whole thing. This is the meaning of Shabda Brahma. People don't understand. They think Sanskrit grammar, what is this needed? You have to get into the mindset of these people, that what they are thinking of Sanskrit. Now we think Sanskrit is a language which came from some Indo-European language. But tell me another European language which has anything like this. If Sanskrit came from Indo-European language, there should be some other language which is on par with this. There is nothing which comes close to this, any of these languages. So it came from some mother language, it became like this. These are also just hypotheses. Who is concerned so much? Sanskrit is the only language which has samskaras. There is no other language. That's why just pronouncing these words gives you religious merit. Because your mouth has been designed by God. If you believe in God and you believe that human beings were created by God, then this is the meaning, that God has designed human body and human apparatus that by sound you can reach Him. Shabda Brahmani Nishnata Parabrahma Digacchati. Krishna himself says, Shabda Brahma, Param Brahma, Ubhau me Shashvati Tanu. That Shabda Brahma and Parabrahma are my bodies, eternal bodies. So this Shabda Brahma is this which you go through this. Shabda, everybody is speaking Shabda, animals, human beings. But this Sanskrit language is the one which is teaching you what is Shabda Brahma. So there is Shabda and there is Shabda Brahma. And by that you can reach. There is one sloka Jiva Goswami has in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I don't remember it, but Yavanti Aksharani Vedeshu Tavanti Harinamani. He says, as many letters are there in the Vedas, that many names of Hari are there. Means the sound of the Vedas, every letter there is a name of Hari. And that's why they were so meticulous and precise in pronouncing them. That was the power of mantra. Why mantra has to be chanted the way it is. Shabdo dushta swarto varnato va mithya parayukta na tamarthamaha. Savaga vajra yajmanam hinasti yathendra shatru swarto aparadhat. So if the shabda is dushta, if it is deformed, it is polluted, and it can be polluted in two ways. Swarta, aksharta. Either the swara is wrong, the way you are pronouncing it, or you have a wrong akshara. Letter is wrong. So name is Krishna and people call Kisan, Kesto, all these different varieties in India, Kanha, Kannu. So these are a deformation of Krishna sound. So this is akshar. So it can be in Laukika, you can do whatever, but not in Sanskrit Bhasha. So in Sanskrit Bhasha, whatever you speak, it has to be proven by the sutras. Otherwise it is asadhu sabda. Sadhu means you can show by sutra, whether it is Harinamati Vyakarana or Panini or Kalap, Katantra, Saraswat, whatever, Mugdhabodh, so many Vyakaranas. So it is very well knit language and it has to be understood like this and you have to pronounce it like that. Otherwise, what is the need of making this sutra here, 36? Something like this, there is nothing even in Panini, at least I don't remember anything like this. It is based probably from some Shiksha Grantha, but at least in Panini there is no sutra like that. Okay?
Sorry, I don't feel like I understand fully here. In the Sutra 35, when it says Punar Avishnu Paradav.
So this is also without, means it should not be Avishnu, Punar Avishnu Padadav Ishat Sparsitar. That if it is at the beginning of a pada, then it will not be Ishat Sparsitara. It will be Ishat Spars.
So, and Vishnu Pada means a pada.
Yeah, word. Yeah.
Ado means at the beginning of a word.
Yeah.
So, Avishnu Padadav means not at the beginning of a word.
Yeah, if it is not at the beginning of a word, then it will be Ishat Sparsitara.
Yeah. Okay, and then when he says Upendra Kvachit, that means after an Upendra, it's sometimes one way and it's sometimes the other. Correct?
Yeah. Just like Niyama and Prayunkte. So Prayunkta is an example where it is not Ishat Sparsitara. And Niyama is where it is Ishat Sparsitara. So this Niyama does not fit in the Sutra 35. Because there it says Avishnu Pada Ishat Sparsitara. So it is not Avishnu Pada. Adam, Vishnu Pada Adam.
Okay, so in these examples, then it doesn't seem like it quite alternates every time.
No, he already said that only the fifth and sixth are the examples. He says, Atra pancham shashte eva udaharane. Only fifth and sixth are the examples. Examples of what? Ishat sparshit tara. Because that is the subject matter of the sutra, this and the previous one also. And others are pratyudaharani.
So, niyama is ishat sparshi tara.
Yeah.
And prayunkte is also ishat sparshi tara.
No.
Okay, that's what I'm not, then why are they both said to be the examples?
I said examples are only Narayanaya and Niyama, only fifth and sixth. You count
okay,
from there,
okay.
Aryama 1, Yayamyate 2, Ayate 3, Vayavagni 4, Narayanaya 5, Niyama 6, Prayunkta 7. So out of these 7 examples, it says only fifth and sixth are the examples. And other 5 are counter examples. Means in other 5, it is Ishat Sparshi.
Acha.
And only in these 2 it is Ishat Sparshi Tara.
I won't clarify that.
Okay, anyway, you think about it and you can still ask tomorrow. Okay, let's complete this chapter today. The rest are very simple. So, Varna Swarupa Ramaha. So, if you want to refer to one Varna, one letter, then what you do is, instead of just saying Ka, Kha, you add Rama after that. So, you say Karama. So, Karama refers only to Ka. If you say Arama, it refers only to A. So, any Varna you want to refer to, this is how they will be referred here. So, you will say Arama. In Panini, they say Kara, Akara, Kakara, Vakara. So, here he says Rama because he wants to give names of Krishna. So, Varnasya Swarup Matre Vachya Rama Shabdodeya. If you want to refer only to one Varuna Swarupa, means just one, then apply the word Rama after that. Tasya ek parigrahata akhyate. Why Rama? Because Rama had only one wife. So, therefore, he refers only to one letter. Yatha Arama. So, Arama means A. Irama. I. Ata ityadi cha panine. Panini at it ut. Like that. Akara ityadi cha kalap vyakaran says akara. Panini also says akara. Yatha cha karama ityadi tu pracham. Raramastu refa. Also commonly you will see the word refa. So refa is used for ra. So like here we have rarama, and in Panini or Kalapa it should be known as a rakara. But generally the word rakara is not used. They use word refa. Why? I don't know. What is so special about it? But refa is commonly means ra. Then it says tadadi dvaya dvayam. So if you want to refer to 2, then you say dvayam. So yo varno nirdishyate tadadi dvaye vachye dvaya shabdo deya. So if you have 2 words, then the first one you say dvayam. So when you say yatha advayam, so advayam means a. Idvayam means e. And this is used only for Sarveshwara. You will not see kadvayam, khadvayam like that. It's only for Sarveshwara. So asya Lakshmi Narayana Vachitvad Bhagwan Namta. So Dvaya is also a name of Lakshmi Narayana. So that's why he used. Tan mantro hi Dvaya mantra ke Padma Purana. In Padma Purana, Lakshmi Narayana mantra is called Dvaya mantra. So therefore Dvaya refers to them. So avarna ityadi cha pracham. Pracham called avarna. Akara ityadi cha panine. Panine called akara. So I don't know why he says akara ityadi panini, because panini akara only refers to a and not to 2. I don't understand this part. This last line, what it means here. अरे यहाँ दो की बात हो रही है, 18 प्रकार कहाँ ला रहा है? अद्वय मीन्स आ, idvay means e. Now he says Panini calls it akara. Panini does not say akara as a. Panini will say a. So somehow it's not very clear. Anyway, adesha virinchi. So when some letter is substituted by another letter, which will come. These are all sangyas, means giving names. There is no utility of them here. The utility will come later on. Now he just giving names. So virinchir brahma yatha ekam vastu pada anyat karoti tatha yovidhi pravartate. So there are vridhis. So when Brahma takes one thing and makes another thing from that. So like that, when something is replaced by another thing, like E is replaced by Ya, it will come in the next chapter. So that with such a vidhi, such a sutra is called virinchi. Adesha. Panini calls it, this is an adesha. So yanadesha, like that. Virinchi cha uchyate. Agamo Vishnu. Agama, when something is inserted in between, that is called Vishnu. So Vishnu yatha madhyata swayam avirbhuya poshako bhavati tatha yovidhi pravartate se agame. So just as Vishnu, he enters, he comes in between and he sustains. So like that is called Vishnu. So Agama is called Vishnu here, but Panini calls, these are Panini sangyas. Adesha, Agama. Lopohara. If something is dropped, deleted, that is called Hara. So Hara is Shiva, destruction. So haro yatha nash hetur bhavati tatha yovidhi pravartate sa lopa hara chauchyate. So that is called lopa. Sometimes he will also use the word lopa, sometimes hara. Tatha haro dvidha bhavet. But this hara or lopa is of two types. So tada darshan matra hetu hara atyantikla hetur mahara lokityani. So when it is disappears but its presence is felt, that is called hara. And when it disappears and its presence is not felt, that is called mahar. So two ways, it will come later on. And then sutrani shadvidhani. So maybe we should stop here actually. This will take time to explain the 6 types of sutras. It's important to understand that. Okay, any question on this?
Babaji, why are the two kinds of deer, Ishasparti and Ishaspartitara, not considered two separate varnas?
What is that? Say it again.
Like there are two kinds of deer, one is Ishasparti, one is Ishaspartitara. Why are they not considered two separate varnas? Because they have separate pronunciation.
No, they are same place of pronunciation is same. Just like you have E, okay? So there, then you have Swarit E, Uddat E, Anudat E. You don't have separate varnas for that. Then you will have so many varnas and confusion. Just that there is a less contact. The place of pronunciation is same. Place of pronunciation is not different. Ichu Yashanam Talu. So it is pronounced from Talu only. The difference is the amount of touch, in which there is more touch, and in one there is a little lesser touch. The place is not different. And the sound which comes also is the same. You will not feel much difference. If I say niyama and if I say prayunkte, you don't feel much difference between the ya sound.
So Babaji, is there any other varna for which the pronunciation changes slightly based on context, like what comes before and after, or is it easier the only one?
Any other one? I don't think so. There is nothing. The other changes are because of anunasika or niranunasika. But This is the one. Another one you can say is A, because when you have short A and then you have long A, so A is Vivrita and A is Samvrita, so there is a difference. Although they are Savarnas, so the sound should be, the difference should only be in Matra. It's like when you have E and E. So the only difference is that the E takes double the amount of E. There is no other difference. But here it sounds different when you say A and A. So in A, the throat is little constricted. So therefore it is called Samvrita. Samvrita. And the other one is called Vivrita. But other than that, I cannot think of anyone else. The other one, if you want to consider, is also the Visarga. Because Visarga, what it does is that it follows the previous Anuswara, Sarveshwara. E. If the previous one is E, then it becomes E. If it is U, it becomes U. So it is always changing depending on what it is following. So there also it is a different effort. Anything else?